the way it's supposed to be played, I was told, is you go ahead and you put the Thracian Peltas and, well, actually, I'll dictate to you what I was told, actually. Heavy armored units in the front, so that's going to be your 3 mercenary hoplites right there. Then you put your long line of Thracian warriors there, and then you put your cavalry, Thracian royal cav, and your Thracian nobles in the back. The Peltas are kind of more maneuverable, they can go around, and then you have these 2 Thracian horsemen who can go up, scout, and probe at your opponent. Now my opponent, on the other hand, has a relatively solid build. I mean, it's going to be basically a lot of hoplites, and these are going to be hard to break through. And then he has 3 mercenary Italian swordsmen on the flanks. He has a lot of cavalry, 2 Thessalians on one flank, 2 more backed up by Hellenic Royal Cavalry. So he has me beat there in the cavalry department. However, he has not that many skirmishers. I mean, he has 4 of these Peltas, but I have just way too many infantry. Actually, it's kind of hard to quantify this. He has a lot of infantry too. I don't know what I'm saying. It's kind of coming out even, but I have more of an attacking focused infantry, whereas he has much more of a defensive type infantry. Anyways, the way this build is supposed to be used is, I believe, you go forward, you fix your opponent with these mercenary hoplites, you use them to soak up any fire, any charge, you get the opponent fixed, and then you rush in with these Thracian warriors, who of course have the, let's cycle through, who of course have nice charge and attack bonus stats. Then you save your general units, and the other elite units, Thracian nobles in the back, and these guys are good for mopping up abilities. So that's why you have this layered deployment like this. And also keep your Thracian royal cavalry in the rear, and they're supposed to be used for hammer and anvil strikes. However, I'm not going to quite use them just so well in this battle. Anyways, what I'm trying to do right now is just have my Thracian horsemen in the front, move and try and harass my opponent and try and get him to commit. So I wanted him to commit in the middle, but he really had his flanks heavily guarded, so that's why you can see me positioning some mercenary hoplites on either flank. I'm anticipating a cavalry push from the side, and then down in the center actually I'm going to be facing against a lot of these hoplites, and he's bringing the fight to me. The problem with this is I actually don't quite have a way to combat this. As I said, I'm mostly an attacking army. But if you're attacking into hoplites, that's going to take me a long time to cut through. And all the while as I'm trying to cut through that, he has a lot of cavalry that can, fight my guys, take the superiority there, and also skirmishers who can fight me and take the superiority there. So I would say, just as I'm trying to start experimenting with this build, I get hit with something that is probably a really good counter to it. So we're going to be standing here a little bit, just kind of slowly having our guys here. And what I tried to do was have some horsemen ready to attack the Peltas, or at least push them back and give me some sort of advantage with these Peltas here. Meanwhile, my mercenary hoplites are going to be pushing up the flanks. And what I want to try and do is force an engagement on the flanks that I can win. But you're going to see what this is going to trigger for my opponent. He's going to start deploying some forces over here. But I'm slowly moving up, and you can see I'm kind of mirroring the moves on both sides of the battlefield. Nothing too fancy, keeping these guys reserved here and just trying to probe, see what happens on the flanks. You can see how he's deploying some hoplites to either position, and I'm going to charge in on either side. And what he should be doing is having his guys off of skirmish mode. There's no way I would have attacked that, but I am able to scoot out of there, and I was able to force those guys back without taking any losses. Bait him back. Actually, let's pull this into slow motion. I was hoping I could get out of that combat. I was lagging behind by a couple seconds. But I can get into that combat there. But what I tried to do was pull these guys back to my hoplites. He caught up to me at the last minute, so these Thracian horsemen are going to be starting to lose. He realizes the danger of the situation because I have these Peltas here, and look at what they're going to be able to do, picking off his guys as they pull back like this. And so that's what these horsemen, I think, are supposed to be used in this build, is to pull your enemy cavalry into these types of engagements and just start to thrash them. So I'm getting a good number of kills, and even my guys have taken, decent amount of losses as well. Over on this front, I took my Thracian Royal Cav and just smashed into his force here. I figured I could take this battle. And then also the Thessalians are going to be sandwiched with mercenary hoplites. He does have his own hoplites, but in a sandwich like this, I'm going to wipe out the cavalry, and he's not going to be able to kill me from the back too quickly. If this were a swordsman, then yeah, I would be worried, but it's hoplites, so I'm not too worried. And I also have some Thracian warriors and Peltas who can come reinforce this flank. In the center, I'm going to move up some of my own Peltas just to start harassing, and I want to commit a bit on this side. I'm putting my hoplites here to hold down this front, hold up all his cavalry, and then engage piecemeal, Thessalians against royal Thracian cavalry, and I'll win that fight any day. Put this back on play, and now that I've got his guys in the front rows a little bit destabilized, I'm going to have my Peltas getting some early volleys off. And now I figured I'm going to go ahead and throw my Thracian warriors. I'm not quite sure if this is what the build calls for, but I figured, you know, I didn't want to let these guys get some early shots off. And, yep, I'm going to stop them from doing that. Look at this, it's pretty epic. They're going to be replaced by the, oh, what's going on here? Replaced by the hoplites. And now you can look at this charge coming in through the front. So I guess this is what you want to do. Thracian warriors right into these types of hoplites. So I'm going to be churning up the front, deploying all of my guys up through here. On the flanks, I disengage my cavalry. Don't need those guys engaged. I'll let my hoplites take his hoplites, and we broke the enemy cav. Over on this flank, he is going to be committing 2 of his flank royal cav into this fight. I do have some of my peltas helping to even up this fight, so my Thracian royal cavalry are going to be having to survive this fight. It's going to be very hard for them to do so. I'm able to have some Thracian horsemen here clean up this fight, help me win that, and then these peltas are going to be trying to even up that fight, soften up the cavalry in the back, so I really have to hold out there. Over in the front, I'm going to be committing most of my Thracian warriors against these hoplites. The initial charge was pretty solid. You can see how those guys are down to like 106 everywhere. So really good charge, but then it's going to start to stabilize and go in my opponent's favor. And I have some of my peltas. They're going to be exchanging fire with his own peltas. And I'm going to be moving my Thracian nobles, the cream of the crop, over on this flank. I figured since this is more depleted of cavalry, it's better to move them over here where they can do more damage unharassed. Whereas if I put them over here, you know, he could disengage these cav and thrash them. So that was my thinking. And then I'm going to disengage some of these horsemen and get to the back of his peltas. I know that this fight is going to start to turn against me. And yeah, he even has some cavalry there, but at least I have my peltas who serve very well as anti-cavalry forces. This is going to be a very important part of the battle as I start to turn on his cavalrymen. And even though he's going to be doing a 3v1 on this flank, I'm going to be evening up the fight by having all of these forces shooting into the backs of his men. And you can see my guys slowly going down, but they're buying time for me. You can see some of my horsemen in the foreground fighting for their lives, and they just have to hold out long enough to see the enemy horsemen pinned against my peltas. So I will be, you know, starting to break some of these cavalry, and I have some more hoplites coming in to guard my guys, hopefully even up this flank. Still at 32, 31 men, so we may be able to survive that. Over on this side, cavalry continuing to do hammer and anvils. Thracian nobles are chasing off the peltas. I'm going to chase them long enough to allow my cavalry to catch up, and then I decide, you know, these guys are not going to turn around quite yet, and now I can go ahead and redirect my fire. And like I was saying, these guys are good on the charge, but against these hoplites, I needed something more sturdy, and so now he's going to be actually breaking through my front, so I have to have enough to hold this back. Peltas, are Thracian peltas especially, are really good in melee, so I'm going to throw them into that combat. I'm cracking all along the front, so I really need to win these flanks. His cavalry were able to defeat mine, and that's why I'm reforming these guys, pulling them back to cover the rear of my own hoplites, smashing the rear of my opponents. However, he still has his own peltas, and they're going to be giving, you know, giving what I gave him back, essentially, repaying me for what I did to his cavalry. And these these peltas are going to be doing a lot of damage to my guys if I can't clean up that fight, and that's why I disengaged some of my Thracian nobles to chase them off the battlefield a little bit. My own cavalry cleaning up that front. Let's go ahead and watch a little bit of the engagement in the center. Some of my guys are going to reform and come back, but let's watch some of this sweet, sweet combat. This is going to be a rather long-lived fight, especially with my troops right here. The Thracian nobles are very good, however, they're pretty exhausted. They get tired pretty quick. So that's why you usually, especially with headhunt and all that, that's why you usually want to bring a general who can replenish your fatigue. Very important for drawn-out fights like this, because look at this. His hoplites, all those hoplites, you know, I did a good assault in the beginning, and I'm getting good kills now, but he just has so many, it's hard for me to cut through those and stay alive. So I'm, you know, making sure to clean up. Wow, look at all those guys I cut down. Yeah, what I was trying to say is I'm just trying to chase off the rest of his forces, clean up everyone I can, getting cavalry into the mix here. 123 kills on those royal cav, and yep, cleaning up everything on the outskirts, reforming my guys. I'm going to absorb, get ready for this charge. And he's kind of wasting his cavalry. He should be doing some hammer and anvils over there, breaking my center line, because that's what he really needs, because that is rather largely uncontested at this point. However, look what I've done on this front. I've gotten some of my own peltas in the rear of his line. I got a whole bunch of kills, and then now we're going to be charging into point blank range. Wow, that's a crazy view. Ha! That's so funny. Jeez, man. But yeah, back to the battle. My opponent is going to be making the most of his cavalry, a lot of hammer and anvils, and he's going to be actually breaking my general who was left all alone. It's kind of up in the air, and there he goes. My general crashes. You can start to see a little bit of my opponent's troops wavering, so this is the cue for me to like stop fucking around. Let's get away from this fight. I can't really chase down the rest of his peltas, so I'm going to send the smallest of my cavalry contingents, send the majority of them back into the fight. Look at these guys cheering, bloodthirsty. And he's going to have some cavalry chase after me. I'm going to disengage a little bit and then come back. I wanted to get, as far away from these reinforcements as possible. But nonetheless, they're going to get into the fight. And look at my guys, blood in his eyes, taking out men left and right. And yeah, now his swordsmen are going to be into the fight, but I have some of my own warriors in the background. And I don't know why they're walking. Yeah, looks like they're really exhausted walking into this fight. Here we go. Let's watch some of this charge. No, it looks like I decided to turn about. Oh yeah, these are my own men. Turn about and take these Italian swordsmen who are like, ah ha ha, look, the general's running away. What they don't know is what's right behind them. And that's going to be my guys. I hope I get to chop this guy in half. Yep. Just lawn mowing these guys. A couple more of these sweet, sweet animations. Oh, as I say that, my guy gets killed. Alright guys, chop it in half. You know what to do. Oh, there we go. Yep. So we should be getting nice payback. And then here comes my general, or one of my cavalry units, back into the fight. So these Italian mercenaries should have known better. They should have stayed back in Italy, and they're going to be paying for it. Let's go ahead and look at the rest of the fight. I have kind of collapsed in on the remainder of my guys on the outskirts. He is able to survive and take out my cavalry at a distance. Had he been able to do this earlier, he maybe could have collapsed and sandwiched on my own guys. However, at this point, he was not able to save, for instance, his general, and that's going to cause a collapse of morale on the remaining forces. Still some of them alive, and still they're doing a good amount of damage with their spears. And with wavering troops like this and exhausted troops like this, it may be a problem for me. Especially these guys. If he had like maybe one more hoplite and these javelins were still alive, look how much damage he's going to be doing to my guys. But I think I did have a little bit of, not quite the ace in the hole, but I did have some hoplites left who were well rested and well armored. So that's what allowed me to win, was the fact that there are still 3 of these hoplites. And against my opponent's hoplite build, I think it went pretty well. But anyways, I really like this battle. I really like the build. It's definitely pretty versatile. You can see just how many kills you're going to have to get with your cavalry, and especially your peltas. You can see how I use them effectively. Mostly up here, hoplites doing their thing, holding their own. These guys getting initial kills. But my opponent's build was actually pretty solid as well. This hoplite wall doing a lot of work for itself. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time. Peace out.